Hi, everyone. My name is Thang Nguyen. I'm head of sales for Backstage, and I'm based out of New York. I'm here today with Dave Bresci of PagerDuty. I had the pleasure of working with Dave because PagerDuty did a very deep POC of Portal. So, Dave, can you take a moment to introduce yourself, please?
I'm Dave Bresci. I've been at PagerDuty about 7 years, starting managing the SRE team, then two SRE teams, and now our small but mighty developer experience team.
Cool. So, Spotify has had a relationship with PagerDuty for many years, and we view them as a partner versus just a customer. And everyone knows PagerDuty, and we all know PagerDuty for incident management, but PagerDuty does so much more. Dave, can you go into all the cool things PagerDuty is up to these days?
Yeah, I feel like just talking about incident management is a little bit of a curse because I think that's what we're known for, but maybe we can start grounded with that. So we have so many more capabilities nowadays. So let's say an incident comes in, we're able to not only deduplicate it uh, and group incidents, multiple incidents with multiple sources using our AI ops, but also guide you to similar incidents to help you triage them. We have automations that can actually run triggered automatically whenever you get a particular type of incident that will help you diagnose or even automatically remediate an incident. You can use PD Advance within your Slack bot or within MS Teams to actually interact and triage while the incident is occurring, or automatically creating status updates. You can use CSOps to create these status updates and post them automatically to your status page. And then once an incident is resolved, incident analysis, you can slurp in all your Slack data, automatically create an incident review, and then we take you from the beginning to all the way through to the end of the learnings of an incident. And so it's not magic, but it is PagerDuty today. And but with all that extra features that we've added into our platform the last few years, we've also dramatically increased our complexity.
That's valuable. Thank you, Dave. So let's transition a little bit and discuss your IDB journey. In 2021, PagerDuty started exploring Backstage. Dave, can you talk about how did you know you needed an IDP and what were your use cases? Can you kind of take us through that journey?
Well, it was very much a ground up initiative. So it started during a hack week. We would have a pretty big sprawl and drift of services, and most people were creating them just by copy pasting a sort of skeleton repo. And so we'd see things kind of drift wildly. And one of our engineers, Mark Shaw, I want to give him credit, kind of brought in Backstage during a hack week, and we created our backend skeleton golden path through Backstage at the time. And it was just so wildly successful that we felt like we had officially adopt it. So we brought in Scaffolder, we started bringing in tech docs and doing our developer documentation into Backstage, and had this sort of dream of a single pane of glass for all of our developers. We put our front end skeleton in there, and it was a huge success.
Great, thank you. And you mentioned a lot of keywords here, which pertains to sprawl, drift, context switching, and that's why you looked at an IDP. And these are undesirable descriptors in the world of platform engineering, and you're looking to solve that. So when we talk to companies today, all of these companies have similar problems. So I think they're happy to hear your use case here. So we fast forward to 2022. You have Backstage running. The engineers are using it regularly. Can you talk about the impact that Backstage had on your organization, and how did you measure that impact?
So the most immediate thing was we saw that our new service creation was 3 times faster, from a median of 75 hours to 25 hours to create a new service, both front end and back end. So that was hugely impactful. And it was especially impactful. We had a couple of acquisitions and we opened up a new office. So there's a couple of things we do. One is every developer now, because we have Backstage and we have sort of the golden path available, they all would create sample services right away, almost on day one. So they get a service out that they could play with using our tech stack within a day. The other part was, because of these acquisitions, we had people who had to come in from another company and adopt our tech stack for their services. So now they could largely self-service. We had the Golden Pass, we had our developer docs in there, and they would just go in there, and we would barely have to shepherd them at all. A couple of the folks would reach out and say like, "Hey, we weren't expecting it to be this easy." And lastly, it was able to really facilitate our Kubernetes migration. We had all of our developed migration docs. We had the Kubernetes golden path. Everything was in Backstage, and the developers were able to, by and large, migrate to Kubernetes on their own unless it was a particularly complicated service. And that really, really made a large impact and cut down the amount of effort that it took to undertake a large migration.
Got it. That's a great story. So we fast forward to 2024, and now you've been actively using Backstage for a couple of years. The engineers are being onboarded faster, services are created faster, um, software development and maturity is higher quality. So there's a lot of value that you're getting from Backstage. So all in all, like there's a modicum of stability and productivity. So with that in mind, we approach you with Portal in Q4 of 2024. And in Portal, as you know, everyone's saying, is our SaaS version of Backstage. When we started talking about SaaS, why were you open to listening and what made you want to evaluate Portal when everything was seemingly going pretty smooth for you with Backstage?
Well, if I'm being honest, I would say we had stagnated. Like I mentioned, we have a small but mighty team. But the dream of the single pane of glass was slipping away a little bit because we had just kind of kept those core services. We weren't really adding anything to Backstage at the time because we had wide range of responsibilities. Whenever we'd get to work on Backstage, it was more like to keep up with the maintenance. So I was always on the lookout for outsourcing that, for like finding some sort of SaaS version. And to be honest, when you came to me with that and you said, oh, also it includes all these premium plugins, plus, you'll be able to test some of the, early access to new features. I mean, to me, it was an easier business case to make than even just saying like if I go to my boss and I say, hey, I want X amount of money to get the premium plugins for our on-prem Backstage, it doesn't actually help me. It just actually increases the maintenance burden that we have to have. But if I go to them and say like for incrementally more, I got to outsource this and I get all the premium plugins on top of it, that was actually an easier business case for me to make. And it was almost a no-brainer. And we were pretty excited to work on this with you. And I think my goal now is just to be able to take more advantage of the features we find in Portal and bring them to our developers.
Yeah, that's a great story. So thanks for sharing that. And it just makes a lot of sense. Companies like yourselves, like you guys are lean, you guys are busy, and you really have to just focus on your core business. And Stephen Covey famously said, you have to let the main thing be the main thing. And PagerDuty needs to be busy paging people at 2 a.m. So you don't necessarily want to be experts at IDP implementation and maintenance. So now Portal is implemented. It's launched and it's ready to go at PagerDuty. So also I want to give a shout out to the PagerDuty team, Tamim, Joe, Tristan, and Charlie. You guys did a phenomenal job during our proof of concept. But now that Portal is up and running and ready to go, what's your plan for enablement, adoption, and getting Portal really sticky at PagerDuty so you get that value as soon as possible?
If we're giving kudos, I also want to give kudos to you and to Joe for being amazing partners during this journey. And you've made it easy for us to adopt. Initial plan is to be at least as least disruptive as possible, so more of a lift and shift. Like what I want to do is one day to just let our developers know, maybe even using the same URL, off you go using Portal. Now they'll automatically have access to a lot of things they didn't have access to before, like Soundcheck, and we've actually given early access to folks in our development Portal instance for teams like our security team, who's really interested in tracking their vulnerability management initiative using Soundcheck. Our front end team has been using it to track some critical dependencies. So we already have a few teams that have been exposed to these additional features in Portal, and we want to bring the rest of the organization along a little bit slowly, just to get them used to maybe the new look and feel, and then start exposing them to some of the additional features and plugins. And then we'll be doing probably a developer survey to see what they want. Like we listen to our developers, that's one of the key things, and see like what would you like to see more of in our IDP. And the fact that we don't have to maintain it ourselves will actually give us more time to be able to build those features into the IDP that they want.
Cool. And as you work on enablement and adoption, the whole Spotify team is here to support you and aid you in that journey. So as we wrap up, like Portal is going to be a hugely valuable team that's apparent to the engineering team and all your developers. But how do you get your executives excited? How do you get the rest of the company excited about this platform engineering platform, basically? How do you tie it back to broader PagerDuty initiative so everyone is excited about the productivity gain here?
Well, at the local level, which is what my team is a developer experience team. I think about actually ground this a lot, and I give DX credit for a couple of years ago that in one of their papers, they had a triangle that shows the important things in developer experience, which are feedback loops, reducing cognitive load, and flow state. And I kind of try to ground myself in those. And I think that the move to Portal will actually help us facilitate a lot of that going into the future. I mean, it actually gives us more time to push for that single pane of glass. We'll be able to build more in a Backstage, bring more features and developer productivity tools to our core developer customer base. We've already started building some custom plugins as well that like a functional ownership registry that Joe, as you mentioned earlier, has been building along with Charlie. Um, Other features like confidence flags look really interesting. And I got to be honest, I'm really particularly excited about ICA. I mean, I know nowadays you have to mention AI like 17 times if you're in tech, otherwise you become a pariah. It's like the new Meow game. But ICA actually solves a real use case that we've gotten feedback from developers directly in our developer surveys for years, which is documentation sprawl, documentation discoverability, and the ability to find answers quickly. We were actually looking for our own solution to this before we even knew that you were going to bring this potentially to Portal. So we're really excited to play with that because I think it could actually be a real difference maker for our developers.
Great. Dave, this has been amazing. The entire Spotify team is rooting for your success, and we're here to support you along that journey.